Good morning, everybody. Welcome, YouTube. Today we are doing day number 5 of public mastermind test. So if you guys are on YouTube, you can join a secondary Zoom call, which I have posted in the title. And you guys can ask any questions and I'll address them live on the mastermind call. We do this Monday through Friday, and it's part of my channel, but it's also part of the Restar Nirvana podcast group. And moving forward, this call will only be on Wednesday publicly, the rest privately. And I just want to share some different ideas. And if you guys have any input, please throw it in the chat and we'll go over the group benefits shortly. But getting straight into it. Yesterday, during our podcast recording, Tech said something really interesting, which is that almost nothing matters when it comes to eBay. Meaning that this entire call is about increasing capacity. And yesterday, on the $99 coaching call, I was thinking, like, what's the main difference between that call and this call? And I can share it with you guys. Okay, so I would say that 99% of people in the higher tier call or advanced eBay are working on two things. Number one, a more robust draft bank. Okay, so how do we actually get 2 weeks draft bank, 10 days draft bank, at least a week, 7 days draft bank? And I wrote down some maybe some uncommon advice, but it really did help me think about how to grow. So a few people said that they wanted to bulk up their draft bank before increasing their listing goal, okay, which makes total sense. So let's say before you increase by 2, you have a draft bank, and a person mentioned that before increasing their listing goal 2 items, they wanted an extra 100 items in their draft bank. That's a lot. That's 50 days of the extra 2 listings just to make sure that you are ahead of your game. And I thought that was really cool. So instead of only thinking about, I want to increase my listing goal, increase the safety margin. And I thought that was a really cool concept because a lot of people don't think about the extra safety. They just think about the extra listings. Also, a lot of people have a system to remove duds. I don't talk about that a lot, but one of the people was aiming at removing 3 duds per day, just out of the store, donating them. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. That's over 1,000 items a year that suck, right? If you go in your store, remove some duds every day over the course of a year, you're really trimming the fat off your store. I really liked that idea. So it's the main difference between beginner and advanced is just planning for safety. That's it. So yes, everybody wants to increase their listing goal, but can you not screw up basically once you increase it? So most of the things that we talk about in a 24-hour call, or even on these calls sometimes, doesn't help you increase your listings, and it doesn't help you reduce defects. But I want to change that. So moving forward, I want to focus really on increasing the number of items each day and increasing the margin of safety and reducing the duds and increasing the home runs. That's pretty straightforward. So most questions don't solve one of those things and they don't matter. So you shouldn't worry about it. Like what time you wake up doesn't affect those things, right? It's just the actual systems and processes. Also, one more thing that I really want to share, because a lot of you listening can avoid so much of the pain that I have gone through personally by just focusing on one improvement at a time. Like I totally screwed this up. If you guys watched it from the beginning, I remember Craigslist Hunter saying, bro, you need to just calm down. You have too many goals. You'll never make it. It's too many ideas. Also, those of you don't turn on video for these calls, you're welcome to chat. I would love to call on people that I haven't talked to in a while, like Scott Eifler. Hope all is well. Maybe you can update us. It's been a while. What have you been working on this year?
Good. I'm here every day.
I see you every day.
Yeah, every single day. I cut back on personnel. I'm down to one very part-time person.
Okay.
I tried taking this whole business like I did all my other businesses. I tried going larger, bigger, buy more, spend more, make more. It doesn't happen quite that simple. So I have the space, you know that. I have
Yep.
about 2,000 feet. Learned a lot of stuff over the last 2 years, buddy, being with you. Went back, did a tremendous amount of corrections on all the crap from Cellhound.
Yeah.
We've all been down, you and I have both been down that road too. So,
Mhm.
and still working through it. Somehow during the last year, Chris, and I don't know if it was a Cellhound thing or a hammock thing, I probably have lost, I'm going to say probably in the neighborhood of 600 items are gone out of eBay, completely vanished. So I don't know, it was part of the, what do they call it, the AP system. I have no idea. eBay couldn't figure it out. Of course, nobody at Hammock will admit to anything. And all the pictures supposedly saved, they're all gone. So it's been retaking pictures for another 800 items.
Wow.
I've never dealt with that one or heard of that before. And it wasn't something like I, put them in, took them out, did anything else like that. They just are vanished. Because I would have had a backlog then at Hammock and not there whatsoever. Other than that, life's pretty good. Still living the dream.
I love it.
Yep.
I have a theory on that for everyone. I think that if you use a third party lister in any capacity, because I have used, I've tried List Perfectly, I've done Hammock, I've done Cellhound. I think I've tried all of them. There is some data that's lost in the transfer of when you give the information to a company and then they list for you. There's data that's lost. And I don't know if when you submit an incomplete listing or an incorrect listing, I don't know if these listings eventually get deleted. Because when you look at all of the people usually who are complaining about lost listings, it's almost always virtual assistants or third-party listing. Usually, if you list the item on eBay, it doesn't have that issue. But I don't know the exact reason why some listings fall off. Earlier, before the call, Sally was talking about her draft bank having some duplicates or items that sold that ended up in there. I think it's possible when you're creating drafts to accidentally create a duplicate. So that would be my guess on why in the draft bank it happens. You may have accidentally clicked draft twice, schedule twice, and that might create a duplicate. And then on eBay, I think either there's a duplicate listing created and it's being deleted, or it thinks it's duplicate, or incomplete information makes it fall off. But this is one of those businesses where more money doesn't help. That's an
Absolutely
interesting
correct
concept, Scott, because you have all the space, you have money to invest, and you, with all that capacity, have one very part-time person.
That's correct.
So
it's been a real eye-opener, and like I said, any of the other businesses, and I've started sold off businesses over the years. You can always throw a little more at it, hire the right people, grow a business. This just seems to, it's not stagnant by any means, Chris. It's just, you reach the $100,000, you reach the six figures, you're doing 20, 30 listings a day. It seems like the next level jump, they kind of limit you.
yeah, it's a good
I
point.
can't, it's hard to go from 1 to 150, and it's almost impossible to see where you can go to 2, with 8,000 items now in the store or close to. or 10,000 items with 7,000 listings and doing 20 to 30 a day, posting up on it. I'm still have not hit Nirvana. And yes, I still have all the bullshit, the other stuff that's in here, Chris. Some of the, how do you want to say it? The palette, palette stuff and that too. But marking that down, getting rid of it as fast as I can and get it off the shelves. I will say that antiques and vintage make a ton of money, Chris, and it's enjoyable for me. I really enjoy that side of it. So I know I'm a little squirrel brain in here with doing more than one thing. I love clothing, but make a ton of money on some antiques. I bought an antique store out. Very reasonable, and it seems like you list it, have several dollars in each piece, and in some of the pieces are selling for $200-300. So it's a big hit. Are those gonna come along all the time? No, not at all.
So yesterday during the $99 call, we were talking about Osborne to Thrift, and we wanted to shout him out on Instagram and YouTube because he's an everything seller, and he did like 300K in 2022, which is a lot of work. And his goal was to maintain $1,000 per day. And I remember watching his Instagram. He was talking about he was doing it for a minute, 1,000. He said, I'm not going to be able to sustain this because I'm not finding the stuff I found 2 weeks ago or a month ago. So it's not in the pipeline. This $1,000 I will dip. I'm not going to be able to keep it. And when you're doing that, also it requires a tremendous focus, skill. Like to sit down and list different items every single day is very difficult. And a lot of people cap out at 300,000 in sales and about 100K profit as an everything seller, and because it's just so exhausting. Also, Osborne to Thrift is from a family of they own a thrift store, and he's been doing it his whole life. So he's experienced doing 300K a year. So not it's just less likely if you are not focused to develop systems that can help you grow. And I think that most people, when they add money to eBay, they add money in and it becomes more complicated. And it doesn't work in this business. And Max is asking in the chat if it helps on Amazon to have money. It can, but it depends on if you're adding money to make it more complicated or adding money to make it more simple. So it's weird, but sometimes making it more simple is free. So yeah. the antique business, I think, is great. It's just each item is a bit different. So it makes it difficult to list, let's say, more than 1K gross a day. So that would be
and that's kind of my goal. I'm trying to list about $1,000 a day is where I'm at. Yep. And with 1,000 a day, part of it is it's still the clothing. And I don't do antiques every single day. And you are absolutely correct, Chris. You've got to be in the right mindset. So when I walk back to the antique pallets that are back there, everything I pre-sorted everything. So it's china, glassware, could be looms, it could be knitting or whatever it is. And then you just need to focus on that particular set of products and do it. But I find it very interesting. It's kind of like a history lesson.
It is. And it's so interesting because you're getting value out of it beyond the money part. You said something very interesting, Scott, which was it's almost like eBay doesn't want you to be bigger.
It doesn't make sense. I mean,
it does make
money, but
I hear you. I think it does make sense because when eBay loses a customer because of a defect, I mean, it must be catastrophic when someone is at eBay looking like, wow, 100,000 people this month bought something on eBay and returned it. and they didn't log in this month. Last month they bought something for 100,000. They bought 100,000 people bought something on eBay, and they didn't like the experience. And this month they're not on eBay. That must be the most frustrating thing in the world. So maybe what they do is when you hop on the eBay and you're just starting, they throw you a couple of bones to get you to start selling on eBay and get hooked and enjoy the reselling process. But then they come down on the hammer. If you start screwing up, they give the traffic to somebody else because they just can't afford that. So if you're big and you're making a couple percent mistakes, I feel like they can't tolerate that. They kind of have to like remove you from the pool because they can't. 2% of 8,000 listings is so many defects.
Yeah, I run I run 99.6 or 7, always top rated, always everything. I mean,
Yep.
I have learned so much from you, Chris, to keep the account clean, straight, customers happy. I still do stupid stuff like I still sign cards every single day. I put an eBay card and I actually sign their name on it, or put a hello in a but I get good comments back, and it's just, hopefully eBay sees that. I don't know if it does or not, but
eBay does see that. So I have to shout out Tech again for a couple of ideas that he presented this week that really helped me. And just a reminder, his call on Tuesday, he'll answer any question. It starts at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's one of the top benefits of the group to be able to ask him questions. But a couple of things he mentioned really helped me this week. One was, to make eBay work, you've got to work hard, and then you can't stop. So what happens in this group is, and it happened to me too, once you start learning the processes, everything becomes much faster, right? So it used to take you 14 hours. Now you get it done in 3 hours. And people take their foot off the gas and they don't work as much anymore. So you need to reinvest that time into making sure your store has no defects. That's the part that a lot of people don't understand. Once you get the eBay machine rolling and you're top rated, your return policy is solid, you ship fast, everything's on point, it's pretty much automatic. It's when you dip in activity, when people take a week off or take 2 weeks off. And the joke is, we have a person in the group that like maintained a 30-a-day listing habit for like 6 months, like started to make 6 figures, changed their life, and then they went camping, and then they never came back. They stopped listing completely, and they're still around. They never recovered from coming back from vacation. The listing habit fell off, and then their store traffic started the dip, and then they just turned it off. So sad.
I can tell you, for as old as I am, and again, I'm not bragging about any of my other businesses, but I always took it as 80% of the time. I mean, you always work 100 or 110 or 120%. First one in, last one out. It's like the car business. I was in that as well, Chris. So back out of college. But I've really learned a lot from, traveling, and I did a lot of traveling with other executives and stuff, that 80% of your time you work, the other 20% of the time you focus on your business by itself. And that could be a policy change, or that could be anything else. But for you to don't dedicate 100% of your time to absolutely nothing, but the work, you need to look outside of that and encompass other things into your business. And that could be as much, Chris, as spending the 20%. Where's my next line of the stuff going to come from? Or are my business policies correct? Or, the gig, Chris.
Yeah, that's so in the group, we talk about 9 different promotions that you can do. We talk about, so that's everything. That's offers to watchers, volume discount, shipping discount, order discount, newsletters, all the 9 different ways of promoting. So that's what you do when you're done with your listing goals. You learn about how eBay works. You learn how the title affects sales. So as everybody knows, the listing quality report is being discontinued. But Tech and I have been talking about the listing quality report like for a year before it even came out. We were like, hey, if you have good titles, good photos, good item specifics, good price, good shipping, good returns, accurate item description, accurate item condition. Like if you were to say this jacket has some wear in the pocket area, that's very different than this jacket is in good pre-owned condition. See photos for details. You know what I mean? And if more pictures didn't matter, then you'd only need one picture. If a more complete title didn't matter, then you'd only need one word. If the price didn't matter, then everyone could just price every item at $1,000 and wait for someone to offer you market. Right? And if the offer system was AI and could identify your customer and counter offer them a number that they might actually accept, like it would, but it can't because everyone is different. Some people lowball you $1, you counter offer $49.99 and they accept because they were just testing if it was a bot. And other people offer $1, you counter offer $2 and they'll reject it. So you don't know. So I think the only thing we can do is control that time that we have. So next year, right? Carrie was saying, Tech says that it's everything all the time forever. That's how you approach eBay. And I think that that's all we can do is think about our time. So next year in 2023, it's pretty uncertain. I actually have no idea how much money I'm going to make. I only know for me, the item goal is 1,000 items per week. So I want to sell 52,000 items next year. And where the cards end up is where they end up because I don't know. There's so many issues. There's so many things with eBay because most of us sell pre-owned items. So antiques and collectibles, like Carl is saying, he's been selling antiques and collectibles for 40 years. It's hard for him to switch to selling used clothing. I get it. Used clothing is more boring, but it's more straightforward. And antique and collectible, this is the part I think that's interesting. Somehow you have to convey history of the item, the patina of the item, and the condition of the item. Condition, how it looks in person, and then the history or significance of the item. That's pretty fun. You know, if you find a vintage Erman Miller chair or something, and it's worth $8,000 to the right person, it can be fun researching and figuring all of that out versus like selling an IKEA chair for $35. Everybody knows what it is and put it on Facebook Marketplace and maybe it sells in one day. There's no fun part of that. So it's interesting looking at if you can switch your fun concept to sales per day, it's really fun selling lots of stuff. So hopefully people can move that direction.
And I don't know, Chris, if it's going to make a difference. I got into the whole clothing thing more or less. I think you know this, to support. I needed to get rid of a lot of other stuff, the industrial goods and whatever else. I thought the clothing market, which it does support itself, and it's a steady stream of items. And it's easy for me. Clothing is extremely easy to list. It's more of an automated than it is the antique part of it, but I still don't know, Chris, if it's the correct thing to do is to be in multiple things. I know you always say don't be in multiples, but I'm still going down that road.
It's all good. So Scott, what are you going to do differently? You've learned a lot this year. So next year, is there a different version of Scott or more of the same?
No, I think I think more of the same. Just keep the focus. I think everybody needs to tighten up. The world isn't right. I think we're gonna all notice something happening next year. Hopefully, it's not as bad as what people say it might be. But just keep going and hopefully get at least the same, if not an increase in business. I don't think you're going to see the large increases that we all did over the pandemic. So
yeah,
that we were all blessed with that.
Yeah,
I wish I would have been 2 years prior to that or met you 2 years prior to the pandemic would have been incredible, to know now what to buy or what to have. And it's all hindsight, but.
Yo, 5 years ago, we all bought crypto and we all sold in November 2021. We would all be on an island right now.
Yep.
Love it. Isaiah, what's up?
Good question for you.
Yeah.
So the issue with setting goals based upon income is that you don't have the ability to control what's going to happen next year. So it's difficult to predict what your income is going to be, right?
Yep.
So what is the difference between setting goals based off of income and setting goals based off of the number of sales you're going to do? Do you believe that you can actually control the amount of sales that you get day to day? Or what is the nuance there that makes that different?
Okay, so this is how I look at it. For 2023, Isaiah, you and I are going to make a fitness goal together. I don't know what it is, but we can control how many push-ups we do, and we can control our diet. But we actually don't know what our physical performance is going to be or what we're going to be on the scale. We can only control how many push-ups we do and how much we run and how much we exercise and what we eat. So most likely, if you and I are consistent for 365 days next year, this time next year when we're talking, we'll both be in a much better place physically than last year. All we have to do is stay consistent for a year, because
then wouldn't that be setting a listing goal then rather than a sales goal?
That's what I mean. But the listing goal is part of the sales goal.
Yeah.
So like what we're going to do is, let's say we do push-ups and run every week. At the end of the week, we need to assess where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If we're developing a shoulder injury because we're doing it wrong and we're running with flip-flops and injuring our feet, after a week, we need to cut that out and do something that's less hard on the body.
Like I have an elbow injury, so I don't do as many dumbbells on my left arm right now. Instead, I'm doing a lot of squats.
But that's where you adjust on eBay. If you don't want summer slowdown, start buying shorts now.
So again, does that mean that, but your goal is to sell 52,000 items next year? Does that mean so is your actual goal to list 52,000 items next year or list more than 52,000 items next year? I'm just trying to figure out, how do you go about,
you ready?
At least illustrating to people how to set the listing goals in order to accomplish the sales goals.
I'll do it. You ready? I'm psyched about this. Okay. So in order to hit 1,000 items sold in 2023, my goal is to sell 1,200 items per week. So it's my activity goal. So my activity goal is I want to list or present 1,200 items per week in order to sell 1,000, because I don't know. There's a few things that are going to happen. One is I don't know what's going to happen next year, but I think there's going to be another event, maybe not as dramatic as the pandemic, but something will happen that will disrupt sales. That's why I actually have a goal to list 60,000 items. I want to sell 50,000. There's going to be some with defects and some with issues. So I've decided that when I buy an item that I think is worth 20 and it's broken, I'm just going to sell it for $1. Right? I don't want to take the time to donate it. Somebody can fix it and make it worth more. So I'm just getting it out. So those items I'm counting towards my 50,000, because I also want items that I buy for $1 and sell for 100 in that same bucket. So you know what sounds weird? I was thinking about this. If all 50,000 items next year sell for $1 profit, which not that great, but they're profitable. You know what? I don't know if I can ask for more. I'm going to aim for a $10 profit per piece, but I don't know, because I feel like in the used category, how many of you guys have bought like 20 items and they all suck? Right? Or they damage, or you damage them on accident, right? Like I've accidentally cut things when I open a box. I mean, now I'm super careful, but the amount of damage and shrinkage that happens sometimes can ruin an entire lot. So I've purchased bulk before and I thought it was adult and it ended up being kids. I've bought things that take way longer to ship or deliver. I've had items be returned. I've had fraud. So my plan is actually for 1,200 items a week. And hopefully I net 1,000 sales per week. And activity goal wise, I know it takes roughly, math here. It takes roughly 112 hours a week of work to do that. So in theory, if I decided for 1 week to not like sacrifice the rest of my life, I could do the goal by myself, because I can easily work 112 hours in a week, especially after working in different industries like the car business. If I have to, right, I could do it myself. But I have systems in place so I don't have to do it myself. But here's the thing, like you can figure out how many hours of work your goal requires. I think that's a great way to look at it. So Isaiah, you're putting me on the spot. You
Hold
want
on,
to
hold on. Last piece about that.
okay.
When it comes to you making, so you want to make $10 profit per item. You know, we've talked about the recession a bunch, and you know, people might be more tight on money. If someone is struggling with getting, because like for you, if you had to get $1 profit per item on all your items, that doesn't work for you. Like you can't do $50,000 next year and then
Yep.
pay all your bills, you know, pay your employees, etc. So if you're having issues getting your desired profit per item, what moves should you make in order to course correct?
Okay, this is great. You should mute. Okay, so I want to set this goal for a second, which is 5,000 items a year. Okay, and I'll relate this back to it, Isaiah. So this is the goal of 5,000 items times $10 profit is $50,000 a year. That is $1,000 a week with 2 weeks of vacation. Okay, so 5,000 items. Isaiah also has a goal of 250,000 for next year. So I'll explain now how I would course correct. Okay, because I think that in Isaiah's category, he really does need a $50 ASP. Okay, because in the shoe category, it's dangerous to have a low ASP because returns are expensive and almost everything ships priority. You need a little bit more buffer. So as an example, 5,000 items times $50 ASP, that's 250,000. That's how I would approach it with Isaiah. However, I don't like failing. So let me do the math here real quick. 5,000 items divided by 365 is 14 items a day. So if Isaiah sets the goal of 14 listings per day at $50 profit, over the course of next year, he will have listed 5,000 shoes in 2023. But if he does that, he has a 100% chance of failing at hitting 250K in sales because he just listed 250. That's not the same thing as selling 250. So what I would do to compensate for that is I would try to list like 20 shoes a day. And I would spend, since Isaiah is a member of this group, he's a card carrying member of this group, it's only going to take him 4 hours maximum to list 20 items. That's 5 shoes an hour, right? So he knows in his mind, okay, each week I have 28 hours max of the processing, listing, shipping, putting things away part. The rest of the time you need to invest into, let's say you work minimum full-time. That's 12 hours a week you're working on bolos. I guess actually it doesn't include sourcing, but you know the maximum side of the processing is 28 hours per week. And the rest of it is going to be sourcing and improving your bowl list. So for me, Isaiah, the way I course correct is I'm just planning ahead. Now I'm thinking, I just want a little bit more of a buffer per week, which is 1,200 items. So that's how I course correct. I know that like one of my workers now has COVID. It's a disaster. So that means pretty much I got to work 14 hours today. But it's okay. It's part of the, I signed up for this because I signed up for a $500,000 a year goal. You guys, if you sign up for a lower goal, you don't have to go through as much frustration. You can just course correct. But for me to do 50,000 items times $10 profit, that's like full contact football. I got to get in there and do it. But if you are trying to course correct, you can feel it coming. That's why my favorite Osborne to Thrift post is when he says, I can't sustain this. You guys are watching me on Instagram right now. I'm doing $1,000 a day, but this will not last. I'm not finding stuff that's going to allow me to continue this because he's experienced. He can feel it coming. When you are a reseller, can you guys not feel slow sales coming? I can feel slow sales coming. If I'm not doing the right things, I know it's coming. That's why all of my purchasing for next month is done because I'm trying to reduce the variability. My wife and I are trying to plan vacations for next year now. I'm having a baby in April, trying to do all the plans now. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to be coming to this call 15 minutes early every day, just so I can make sure to get done around 7 o'clock and get everybody's questions answered. And then during the 2 weeks of newborn, tech is going to help me out and do the call if necessary. So like you just plan ahead. That's in April, right? So that's the best we can do. What else can you do other than put together a plan for the holidays? I know the holidays, I actually know, this is going to sound so weird. I know how I want to spend time with my brother now. Like what I find the most value in is watching my niece and my daughter play together. And so I want to do 2 days of vacation where we go out and do stuff and the kids play together, 2 dinners and come back home. I'm full. I want 2 full days of full niece and daughter playtime because it's awesome. And maybe I want to do that 3-4 times a year. I know for sure I don't want to spend a week doing that. Maybe a week over the course of a year, but 2 days in a row is nice because after that I start itching and I want to go back and make sure everything is okay.
You know what they say, Chris? Fail to plan, plan to fail.
I know, right? So, but all you can do is plan. And if it ends up not working out, I think you're still okay because you've become a planner. And it really helps planning for what could go wrong. Because it helps you do the course corrections. Isaiah keeps asking me questions like there's some kind of secret to all this. It's not really a secret. You just sort of figure out how much work you need to do and then you make sure it gets done no matter what. There's just, what's the difference between people who do it and people who don't? A schedule and your willingness to do it. Carl, what's up?
Yeah, it was nice to listen to Scott. You know, we older people in the we've lived through a lot of crises. In fact, I was just thinking here in 1972, my freshman year in college, I did a speech on gasoline going to $1. It was 29 cents at the time. And I remember my classmates laughing at me, actually laughing at me, the impossibility of that happening. And then the gas lines. And then, of course, we've had wars and we've had 9/11 and we've had 2008. And now we have this recession. And so in the last week, I've been listening to your calls on what you're going to do. And if I could just share what I've come up for Carl, what I'm going to do. Number one, you introduced me to Paul Akers. I got to keep it clean. I have been a pig pen my whole life, and nothing is more frustrating than to look for a scissors or a cutting knife and know that it's buried somewhere. Mm-hmm. Everything has to be in its place. The second thing is I need to turn the light on to the store early each day by 9 o'clock. Get more hooks in the water. I've been toying with the idea. Should I go get a part-time job? No, I need to make eBay my part-time job. I don't want to work for a 25-year-old. I don't want, there is no way at 68 that I want some 25-year-old punk telling me, hey, Pops, you got to move a little faster, because I don't need that. I see one of the secrets is the average sale price. When I did flea markets, I specialized in having $2,000 to $3,000 items in my booth every day, and I got to get away from the dollar items. I got to get the 10s, the 20s, and I've been doing that. But most importantly, I need to concentrate on my health, because I got COVID at the very end of September, and it has been a terrible fourth quarter. And without your health, you can't do nothing. So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. As you saw in my post, I met Scott Cooper from Oklahoma yesterday, and we just sat around talking about the things that we've learned from this group, and it was a great time. And if you could ever link up with people, I've linked up with Danny Winsler, who lives close by me too, and it is just amazing. Even though we're totally different niches. I mean, I went for the old books, I went for the older stuff, the hats, and he went to the bins. I've tried the bins of clothing. I've tried standing there looking at clothing. After 40 years in antiques and collectibles that have a story, the only story a used piece of clothing has is somebody donated it, didn't want it anymore. But thanks, Chris. You've helped me get a little bit more focus for 2023.
I got a question for you, Carl.
Yes, sir.
At all the flea markets I've been to, I think the people who make the most money have the $1 ASP. Am I wrong? When I look at the tables that are all $1, it's packed all day.
Yep. Yeah.
So
you know why? Because people have a dollar to spend. They don't have. Now, here was the other secret of doing the flea market. I always had higher price items for my customers that I knew that they were collecting certain things. So if I had 20 items and higher priced items and I could sell 12 of them, I had a great day. But the dollar stuff, people are willing to spend $1. And then if you give them a deal, 6 for $5, then it's even greater. Then they're looking for, and the sixth item always has to be the winner. They just have to win all the time. Yeah. But you know what? With eBay, you can't have the dollar mentality. Flea market, yes, but eBay, no. You've got to have a higher average sale price.
What do you think about, Carl, the people who do, like in my flea market, what comes to mind is all the people who sell $1 stuff. So the guys that have 100 tables set up in $1 hard goods, and people are buying pots, pans, whatever for $1, and it's packed all day, and they leave with 90% of it sold. The other one that's really busy is the Costco returns, which Scott told me people buy at like 18% of MSRP or something. So let's say you buy a truckload of Costco returns and you show up at the flea market. That place that's packed too. And then when I see the antique sellers, I wonder, because they do have the $2,000 ASP, $1,000 ASP, $500 table at their booth as well. And it's not very busy. So I wonder, do they have to put all that stuff in their car again at the end of the day? Because it looks brutal.
Oh, yeah, you have to put it in, but there are other venues than the dollar flea market to sell. There are antique shows. There are,
I see.
So I mean, I didn't bring out really high priced antiques many times. I would let people know that I had a certain item, and then the next week I would bring it along with me. But you know, one guy that I really admired, he would show up at the flea market with his van, and he would have people waiting for that van to come. And then he would say, all right, let me set the first banana box. And he would set the cornerstone of his booth. And then people would empty his van box by box so they could look through the box, but they were trained to set the whole thing up perfectly.
Yep.
Yeah, and he just he made deals. He made deals, and a lot of it was $1, $2, $3 item, and so yeah,
That is
it's
the Costco guys that
the Costco. I'm sorry. You know what the problem with the Costco stuff, the returns. How do you answer the question? Does it work? Does it work? Is it all there? You know, like, you know, people, I would sell a puzzle for $1 and a 1,000-piece puzzle, and somebody would say, are all the pieces there? Did you put it together? I don't have time to put a 1,000-piece puzzle together for $1, you know, to check it out. You just have to just keep next. And then the other thing is 2 or 3 flea markets with the junk. And I had one market where I would put out 8 to 10 banana boxes at the trash can. And I had a guy complain, you can't throw all that trash away. I said, just watch. And within 10 minutes, all the boxes were gone because the vultures would come in and take it. So you just got to keep turning your inventory, but you got to be able to turn the inventory over. Where I lived in Pennsylvania, there were 70 auctions a week within 30 miles of my house. So we had the ability, and this was pre-COVID too. So it's a lot different ball game. But you got to keep turning your inventory. If you're going to do flea markets, you got to keep getting new stuff.
well, that's why Carl, you surprised me when you said that ASP was the kind of the secret. I think the secret is sell-through.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. But for me, okay, so I'm consistently listing 10 a day. I know if I'm going to make this a better thing, I better get up to 20 real quick with it by the second quarter of the year. And so, but you know what? If you're just listing junk, the same ASP, you're not going to get there. It's a whole lot nicer when you go from a $5 item to a $35 item. So you got to keep looking for better stuff all the time. So, yeah, I mean, hey, I agree with the sell-through, but I need to up my my buying.
Thank you, Carl.
No, Chris, thank you. I have learned so much from this group, and it's worth every penny.
So I have another question for you guys. What do you guys think of the advice today? Make sure you have a system to remove duds, right? And what Carl was saying is maintaining ASP and sell-through rate, right? So another person in the call last night mentioned something that I don't think about, and I should think about, which is she's continuously looking for better ASP, improving her Rolodex, better items, wider knowledge, but also looking for a lower buy cost, right? And to be honest, I don't care about the buy cost, and I should. I'm always like, if it's going to sell fast and I make some profit, I don't care. Like, I'll spend 100 to sell for 110 if it's today. I will make 10% if I can sell today. No problem. But now I'm thinking, you know what? In 2023, I got to do both. I got to think about getting a better deal and sell through, because Like when we talked about CC Filson this year, I was just thinking, man, if it sells for $80, I'll just pay $40 or $50 and I should be able to outbid everybody and I can just sell stuff that sells in the same month. Why do I have to? This is even before I got suspended on eBay. I was focused on, let's just buy stuff that sells this month. Even if it makes a couple bucks, it's out of here. Less space, less processing, touch it only one time. I don't have to go back in 6 months and make sure it's still listed because it'll sell this month. If you buy a whole bunch of stuff that's really hot, you don't even need to put it away. You just list it and put it under your shipping table because it'll sell this week. So anyway, I think that advice is pretty straightforward. Focusing on draft bank before you increase your listing goal, safety things, focus on getting a bigger deal, better deal, and increasing your knowledge. Johnny B was able to change his buy cost from $1 to 2 to 5 cents per item. See, here's the question. At the flea market, I pay between $1 and $10 for items. Yes, last week, my buy cost ended up being $5. And this is the part that blows my mind, Johnny. When I pay $1, what are they paying? Are they paying 2
They
cents?
pay what I pay, and they're taking your dollar. That's what they're doing.
That's what are they buying it for? That is so interesting. Because sometimes I give them $1 and it looks like they got one over on me.
They got 98 cents over you. That's what they got.
Man, it kind of blows my mind. Yeah, because when I go to the Flea, I just can't believe some people are. Yeah, I talked to this guy named Jesse, and he's awesome, but he only sells 10 things in a 12-hour shift at the flea market, and he puts all that stuff back in his car, and it just looks horrible to me. Like, I'm like, Jesse, you know you can sell everything you have here to me today, and you don't have to pack anything back in your car again. And he's like, I'd rather have the arthritis because he has arthritis now from years of putting thousands of clothing items on hangers and back and off of the hanger to fit in his car. Guys, can you believe that? Like, he doesn't have a big enough car to just leave it on the hanger. Can't do that. Okay, Sheila's saying, yeah, it is possible they got paid for a clean out, and the items they get are free. So that $1 is a $1 profit. But I remember when I was in China, this guy on the street was selling these polished rocks, and it was $10 a rock, and I offered $1, and he's like, done. And I was like, oh no, I paid too much. But he was selling them for 10, and I thought they were really cool. And $1, I felt that there was no lower denomination than that. And $1 RMB is like 15 cents. Anyway, I got hustled. Beth?
The one piece I think that you left out, because I'm writing notes on this, is that if you increase your ROI, right? So, if you have a lower buy cost and a higher ASP, if you start out and it's like, I don't know, $5, and then you can incrementally increase to $7.50 and then 10 and 15, to me, that fits in with all of those things. So it's logical. And maybe it's assumed, but for me, when I'm writing my list, that's going to go on that list.
Yeah, I think it's key to focus on ROI, and that's all. Everything goes into that. But I as an example, my wife was able to negotiate me a better deal. She's a much better negotiator than me. Because the before my wife, my buy cost at the flea market was like 7. Right? She was able to talk to the Heffa and give me a much better deal. Right? So but the thing is, I have not improved that deal. It's profitable, so I have not asked for a deal. But I'm sure if I were to say, can I up the amount that I buy and get it? Maybe I should bring my wife again. She can negotiate that next tier for me. But
Bring the baby. Bring the baby.
Yeah, I know we brought the baby.
Yeah, if you go to like when you go to the junkyard to get like rims, our friends took the baby and the guy got him for like a quarter of the price because he got his Volkswagen off the ground and mashed his rims. He took his wife and his baby and got a great deal.
Yeah, I asked my wife what she said to get a better deal, and she said just the opposite of what you talk about. Probably nothing, just life.
That is the thing, though. I take it all, no matter what, for that 2 to 5 cents. I have to take it all to get that price.
Take it all, yeah. That's true. And that's obviously how they buy it. They buy it all, and then people come cherry.
Jen? That's a problem in and of itself, taking it all. I mean, you better have the capacity to put that somewhere very quickly, or you're going to be drowning.
Yes, this is true. All true.
So Jen, because the last 2 weeks of the Flea have been closed, so I've been going directly to the storage units of the people who buy this stuff, the people who buy it all. And man, I am not equipped for that. Like it is floor to ceiling clothes. So
That totally stresses me out thinking about it. I mean, I just got rid of my death piles finally after a year. And to think that I would start building them up again, it almost makes me want to vomit.
So Carl had mentioned something earlier, and I do that. When I am sorting through the clothing, I sort it in the piles for them. So like, this is what I buy. This is over here. This is over here. And and I asked her, I'm like, what happens before me? She's like, oh, I go to the bins, I get all this stuff. And then what I filter out is the damaged and stained, right? So I filter out damaged and stained, you filter out category, and then I go to the flea market. And the better categories, I go to this flea market because those people are richer. And I go to this flea market because those people don't have any money, but everybody has $1. Carl said that. So she also told me that at the flea market with the most people and the people with the most money, she brings the most items. The flea markets where everybody only has $1, she brings a smaller setup. I wonder, Carl, how do you feel about that? If you go to the biggest, makes sense. I think you go to the biggest flea market with all your stuff.
Absolutely. But before I say something on that, the trash can is also one of your best sorting tools. Because it's instant clutter control. It's gone. And that's why, as an auctioneer, I used to go to some of these places where people just had all kinds of stuff and forget it. It's just junk. But yeah, each flea market dictated a different type of setup, a different, because what we had in Pennsylvania, Dutch country, these people still had their first communion dollar in their wallet. I mean, they were cheap. They didn't want to spend money. But then we would have extravaganzas with antiques and all that. And that's where you brought the best stuff out. You always saved the best for the places that you could sell it. The dollar buyers, you just have to have a gigantic setup of all kinds of whatever, something for everybody, and all you want to see is elbows and rear ends in those boxes. Yep.
Elbows and rear ends. That's a good place to end, guys. So we're gonna switch to the beginner call with Isaiah. So I was just looking up the Yelp reviews of my local flea market. You know what it says, Isaiah? It says, if you come to the flea market every day for because the one that's right by my house is open 7 days a week. It says, if you're not in a good position financially, come to the flea market every day for a year and your life will change. That's a comment on the Yelp page.
You gotta love it.
Gotta love it. So you go to the flea market for 365 days, you're gonna come up. It's $1.50 for this one to get in, but it's open 7 days a week. This is the only flea market that I've seen. Oh, actually, I know Bill has one, or I mean, some people have flea markets like this too, but they have shops there that are permanent. Because Bill had done one before. This flea market has like you can buy a shop or rent a shop on the facility or in there, and it's year round. But
Terrible idea, Chris.
yeah.
If you're going to get in the flea markets, be the person that sets up in the field and brings new stuff all the time. Because when you have one of those booths, what happens is everything remains in the booth and you get lazy. And then you will have people just walk in and walk out because it's in the same place, the same time, but having new tables, new boxes all the time.
Mhm.
That's the way to make it in the flea market. Hey, antique malls are great. I have a booth, but you know what? You got to keep that replenished all the time with new stuff.
I love it. That might be the allure of the Costco fleet, because like they set it up where this is where the clothing is, this is where the accessory, so it goes accessories, clothing, cookware, electronics, and then food, something like that is how it's set up. And when they arrive at the U-Haul and they open it, the swarm of people comes and they set it up for them. And everything is 50% of MSRP. So according to Scott's math, if they're buying it for 82% off, then they make 32% margin. Because everything is half off to make it easier. That's a really interesting business. The flea market Costco is packed, and they paid for the premier spot. They're right in front of the gate when you walk in. And I think Carl is right too, because when you walk in, there's on the left side of my flea market, there's all these established vendors who have the same stuff every week. On the left side, on the right side is the Costco guy. 100% of people walk in, turn right. They don't even go to the established booths.
Because you can go to the established booth later.
Yeah.
You can always you can't hesitate one moment by not turning right to see what's new.
So funny. I like it. A lot of life lessons at the flea market.
A lot of lives there too. A lot of interesting stories. Bring the dog also.
Bring the dog.
Works, but bring the dog, especially friendly dogs. Have that dog wagging that tail the whole time, and you'll get good deals.